Assalamualaikum, good day everyone. Today we're going to build a very simple to-do list web application, and here it is. So this is what we're going to build. It's very simple but it's very cool, and here are the features. First of all, you can see all the to-do lists in a very stylish sticky note design like this. You can add a new to-do. So for example, I want to work on my assignment. Work on my assignment. Maths. So just click the add button, and see it will automatically show at the bottom right here, and you can add an infinite amount of to-dos. Let's add another one. And another feature is that you can just tick off all these to-dos once you've done them, like so. So we're going to use the Svelte framework. So you might be wondering, what is Svelte? Svelte is nothing more than a JavaScript component framework, and if you are coming from an HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you know these things, then Svelte will be very easy for you. So Svelte adds a lot more features to your normal HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. For example, Svelte is very reactive. It's a reactive framework. That means that you can make a reactive application in few lines of code. So for example, in this to-do, we can add a to-do and add it to the list very easily and with minimal lines of code. And another feature of Svelte that I find really interesting is that you can combine your HTML code, CSS, and JavaScript in one file. So without wasting time, let's get straight into it. So let's close this first. Let's close this app first, and we'll start from scratch. Alright. Okay, so from your desktop, go to the root directory where you want to save your to-do app project. We hold right click, and then hold right click and choose open PowerShell window here. Make sure that you install npm and npx first before typing this command. So once you've installed Node.js and npm and npx, so just simply type in this command to start a new Svelte project. Npx digit svelte.js /template, and then add a space and then name your app as you wish. Like so. So my project name is to-do app Svelte 2. Alright, so once that's done, you'll see that npx created a folder here, your project folder. So just double click that and then open this with Visual Studio Code, like here. Alright, so once you've opened this, I'd like to have two windows open. One is my editor, my code editor, Visual Studio Code, and one is the Firefox, which is the web browser. So what the Svelte template gives you is, first of all, the package.json with three scripts. First of all is the build script. Second is the dev script, and the last script is the start. So we want to use the dev for the development environment. So we can straight away go ahead and run the script. You can click here using the Visual Studio Code extension, run script. if you now run the script, the dev script, you're going to have an error, and the error is because we didn't install the packages in our project. So what you have to do now is open a new terminal. Right here, open a new terminal, and then type in npm install, or npmi for short, and this will install all the packages that is specified in the package.json. So all these dependencies right here, including Svelte itself. Once npm finish installing all the packages, we can straight away test the app and run it. So we can go ahead and click this run script button from Visual Studio Code, or you can also run it as a command in the terminal. npm run dev. Alright, so the way to tell if your application is ready is seeing here, and we can go ahead to this URL to see our app. So here we go. This is our Hello World app created using the Svelte template, and what we want to do is just modify all this to match it with our to-do app here. This is the finished product, and we're gonna work on it from here. Alright, so let's get started. First of all, let's change the header. Go to the source directory and go to app.svelte. Alright, so once you open app.svelte, you can see that there are three main sections in this file. First of all is the JavaScript, and secondly is there's the style, CSS style, and last but not least is the HTML part at the bottom here. So this is essentially our header 1, which is reflected here. So let's change that to a nice description for our app. To-do list. Alright, so once you've made the changes here, just refresh. Sometimes it refreshes automatically, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, just click the refresh button in your browser. Alright, so the very first thing that you want to make is one to-do that consists of a text surrounded with an orange box that looks like a sticky note. So to do that, first of all, we create a new Svelte file just for one to-do. So go to your source and then add a new file and call it a to-do.svelte. To-do.svelte right here. And then first of all, let's make the scripts part. Let's close this. Alright, so the script, so this to-do consists of one variable, and that is the text that it contains. So we want to pass this as a property, and this property will be fed by the app.svelte later on. So to make a property, write export let let's name it text for now. Alright, so next we're going to make the HTML part. Let's make a simple div or a main tag. So usually in any Svelte component, all the elements inside it is wrapped by the main tag like this. Alright, so after the main tag, let's add a paragraph that will contain the text, and this will contain the text like this. So this text here is referring to the property that we defined above here. Alright, so let's quickly style our to-do. Let's quickly style our to-do component using the style tag like this, and then adding the style for the main tag. let's add a background color. Alright, let's make it a nice orange, light orange color, like this. And then add the width. This width will be around 150 pixels, let's say, for now. Alright, we can change later. Right, so now let's see this to do component in action. Go to app.svelte again, and then this, well, we can remove this paragraph right here, we don't need it. Remove it, and first of all we want to import the component. So at the top here, right, import to do from todo.svelte here. And if you don't have this syntax highlighting that I have here, that means you didn't install the Svelte extension. So what you want to do is go to the extensions tab here, and then search for Svelte. See, as you can see, I have this Svelte for VS Code, and this is the extension that you should install. Alright, make sure that it is from Svelte. Alright, so after you've installed, you'll get this syntax highlighting and everything else. So once we've imported this component, go down here, let's call this, let's display our to do component. So we can display using standard tag, just like if you come from a React background, it's similar. This is to do, and see, you can see this already displayed here. So this undefined means that we didn't add the text property yet. So let's add that. So to add a property to the component, we add the text. It's similar to an attribute in HTML. So the text, let's make it a string, or for example, any to do, work and assignment. Work assignment 1. Work on. Alright. So this is our to do component right here. And the great thing about components is that we can make as many instances of it as we want. So for example, we can have 10 of the same component, just with a different text. So let's paste this 10 times. So as you can see, this is 11 to dos now, and we can change the text like so. Alright, so this is just for illustration purposes. So now let's quickly style again to meet the design of a sticky note. So let's add a bit of padding, around 10 pixels. Let's refresh. Alright, add a margin around 5 pixels, and also we want to add a bit of box shadow, just because we can. Alright, so there's a very easy way to do that. Just search for box shadow generator. I already have this tab open last time, so it's easy for me to access it. If you don't have this, just search for box shadow generator and you'll find this website. So go down here, just add one element, click the plus icon here, and then modify the shadow. So the shadow should be roughly here. Change the color here, and then change this -5 to 5, so it will be positioned at the bottom right. So once you have this, go down here, go to the shadow section, and then just copy this text here, starting from 5 pixels to this color. Just copy this, and then what you want to do is go back to the editor, inside the main, write box shadow to add the box shadow and just paste it like so. So now if you go to the web browser, see, you'll have this nice box shadow for every to-do component. So once that is done, let's make a container containing all the to-dos that is stored in our to-do app. So to do that, go to the app.svelte. Let's wrap this in a container. So first of all, we want to add a div.container to quickly container like this. Alright, so let's place all the to-dos inside our div like so. So now let's style the container, and also we want to have a tile of sticky notes, not just one column like this. Alright, so to do that, go to the styles right here, right, dot container like this to style the container class. And first of all, let's use flexbox. Display equals flexbox flex. Alright, like this, and then have a fixed width. So for this, to be able to make a responsive to-do list app, let's set the width to 100% and add a max width around 500 pixels. So what is, let's add a max width. Oh, also make sure that this container can wrap items. So to do that, go write the flex flow, add the flex flow, that is, let's set it to row and wrap like so. Yep, it's good, it's looking good already. We just need to center this. To do that, write justify content center. Alright, and now this, we want to have all the h1, the container itself. The items are, as you can see, the items inside the container. If we inspect with console, all the items are centered in the container. See, this is the container right here. So what we want to do is center the container itself to the page. So to do that, go to main, as main is the contains all of these components. Go to main, go to style of main, and let's first of all remove the padding and also the max width. We don't need it. And then let's make the main a flex box also. And we want to make the flow a column. Now what we can do is align all the items to the center. Align items center, like so. Okay, so the next step for us is to make an input box at the bottom here, so, which allows the user to input new to-dos. So the first thing we want to do is to go to the HTML and make a input box, a form. So go here, and then add a div just as a container for the input box. So a div, we can style this later, and then let's make the input of type text. This is for the user to input the new to do, like so. Here you can see the input box. Now let's add a button here at the right side. Button. And actually, let's wrap all of this input and button into a form, so that when the user either presses the enter button or click on the button, the user will be able to add a new to-do. So what we want to do is wrap this into a form, like so, form, and place the input here, and also the button. Make the button type submit. This is important. Let's have the text add, like this, add. Alright. After this, let's bind a variable, and this is one of the very cool things in Svelte. You can just bind variables to the input. So for example, so you can bind variables to the input, and that variable will be able to automatically update based on the user input. Let me show you what I mean. So up here, okay, we don't need this name property, so we can delete that, and we can replace that with let's add a variable to store the to-do. New to, I'm gonna call it new to-do. New to-do equals an empty string at the start. And now in the input here, this is only available in Svelte. Go to here, add this attribute. It's called a bind value. Bind value, and here they will ask for the variable name, and which is the new to do that we created before. New to do. So now if the user inputs something here, this text that the user input is automatically assigned to the new to do variable that we created. This is called reactive programming. Okay, so let's quickly style this form. Let's add a class to this form. Not in this form. Go to the parent div and add a class to it. I'm going to call it new to-do box. New to-do box. And then let's go to the style section and style the new to-do box. New to-do box. Let's make a padding. Let's make a padding of 10 pixels and change the background color to something a little grayish, like this. Yeah, that looks good. And now what we want to do is add a bit of margin at the bottom, because right now this box is all the way at the bottom. User can't see it very well. So I think that's best to style the main class, the main tag, which is at the top here. Padding bottom. Padding bottom is around 100 pixels, maybe. Yeah, that looks good. Or 150 even. Right, 150. Right, so now we're going to add a placeholder here, just so that the user can see exactly what needs to be inputted. So go to the input and add a placeholder attribute. Placeholder, let's call it add a new to do ... Alright, so once that's done, we're going to implement this to do functionality. But before we do that, let's actually store all the to-dos that we created in an object called the store. So the Svelte has this concept of a store. A store is basically an object that allows reactive access to a value. So what that means is that this store can store all the to-dos that in our app, and the application can listen to any changes to that store, and it will automatically refresh the screen once an update is issued to that store. So what we want to do is to make a new file in the source directory called stores.js. This file is the place where all our stores can go. So for this to-do list app, we just have one store, that is the to-do store. So the syntax for writing a store is like this. We want to import the writable, because there are two types of stores. One is the readable store, and the other one is the writable. So we want the writable, of course, because we want to update the to-do, right? And we want to be able to delete afterwards. So import writable from Svelte /store, like this. Okay, like this. Okay, now let's make add an exported to-dos array that is stored like so, writable array, and this array is the default values for our to-dos. So I'm going to set the default to-dos work on math assignment. Right, so once done, so basically when the user sees this app for the first time, the user will be able to see these two to-dos. You can modify if you want. Okay, now next go to the app Svelte, and we want to be able to utilize this to-do store that we created. So to do that, we want to import it first. Import to-dos from stores.js. This one should be wrapped in a curly brace like this. Right, so this to-do store is now imported. We can display the contents of the to-do store by modifying this. So in here, instead of having these template to-dos, what we can do is write a loop to display all the contents in the to-do store. So let's write the loop like this. Each, and if we want to access the values of a store, we use the $sign like this, to-dos, and as to-do. So as this to-dos store is an array, that means this to-do acts as the item for that current iteration. So like this. So we should close this loop first, each like this, and then for each to-do in our to-dos, we want to display a to-do component, to-do, with the text to-do like this. Alright, so if you followed me correctly, you should be able to get these two. This one, remember, this is from our default values from the to-dos store here that we wrote in stores.js. Alright, so now we have that implemented. We can now modify our to-do store, and the first thing we want to do, we want to add a new to-do here. So let's write a function to be able to add a to-do. So function, go to the script and go and write a function. I'm going to call this add new to-do, or too long, add to-do, no parameters, open, and then we're going to use this new to-do, since this new to-do variable is updated according to the user input, remember. So now we can add the contents of the new to-do variable to our to-dos array. So to do that, because this to-dos is not just a regular array, it's a store, To be able to update the store, we use this function in Svelte, todos to update, and it has a callback as its input with one parameter, which is the current content of the to-dos. So this one is, I'm going to call this current and make a function out of it. So we want to be able to add the new to-do to our current array. So what we want to do, go to let updated equals current, and we can modify this updated array, which will contain our new to-dos, and then we can return that instead. So updated equals, or updated.push new to-do, just like this, and then return the updated. Make sure to return the updated. Right, add a semicolon here, and that's it. So let's test this out. Let's add a new to-do, any to-do, add. Oh yes, one important thing to note is that when you submit something to a form, this form by default will refresh the page, and we don't want that, because if we refresh the page, then the to-do store resets. So what we want to do is to prevent the default actions of a form. To do that, go to the form, and then actually we can also attach this, we can also bind this add to do to our form on the submit. So in Svelte it's like this: form right, on submit, and this will be fired when the user either click this button or press enter. On submit, right, add to do. This will bind the on submit to our add to do function. So whenever this form is submitted, it will automatically fire our add to do function that we created here. And also we want to prevent the default actions for the form. So to do that, we add something called an action modifier. So the syntax is this / prevent default. So this action modifier means that we will prevent all the default form actions when we submit, which is the form will refresh the page. So we can test this out right now. Let's add a new to do, click the add, and see, it will automatically update the to-dos array, and the display will be updated also. Alright, that's it for the displaying and adding new to-dos. And now what's left for us to do is to have the close button for each of the to-do here, so that we can delete the to-dos when we want to. So to do that, we want to modify the to-do HTML. Go to the to-do as well and modify the HTML. Add an X, preferably in a span. Add a capital X like this. Make sure the span is has a class so that we can style this later. I'm gonna call this delete button. Actually, let's not make it a span. Make it into a button like this. And I'm gonna rename the class to btn/delete. Okay, so we have the X right now. So let's style the button delete. Let's put it on the right corner, and first of all go modify the background color. Remove borders and position it to the top right center. And right now is here. What we want to do is to have the main tag positioned as a relative. so that if you refresh, oh, not display, position, so that the delete button will be positioned on the top right corner for each to do. So now we want to be able to when the cursor hovers, we want to highlight it a bit. So go to here, ptn delete with colon hover. We change the cursor to a pointer, and also change the background color to something darker. Okay, nice. So after that's done, we want to implement this functionality. So what we want to do is use something called the event dispatcher in Svelte. We want to use the event dispatcher to be able to tell the app Svelte when the delete button in the to-do component is clicked by the user, and when that delete button is clicked, then that to-do should be deleted from the to-do store. So to do that, we create an event dispatcher. We have to use the event dispatcher because we want to tell another component that something happens in another component. In this case, something happened in the to-do component, and it should be recognized in the app component. To do that, create an event dispatcher. We want to import first. Import the create event dispatcher from Svelte. Okay. Now make a variable called dispatch. Like this. And then we should fire a dispatch action when the button is clicked. So here we can bind the on click of the button to a function that we're going to write, our own function. So this I'm going to call this delete to do, like this, and then we can write that function in the top here, function delete to do, and we're going to take the event as an argument, and then but before we write our delete to do function, we should actually make a property that will store the to do index. This to do index is just the position of the to do in the array. So for example, this to do has the index of 0, and this to do has the index of 1. So this is very important. This index is very important because this delete function needs the index to be able to find which to do that it wants to delete. Right. So make a property make a index property, and then go to the app, and we should also add the index, and then here add a comma and index, so that we can also get the index for the current to do item here. So we pass this index to the index property, like so. Whenever the variable name matches the property name, we can shorten this to just using like this. Alright, so let's go back. So this is done. We got the index. Now we can implement our delete functionality. Right. Write dispatch and the name of the event, in this case delete, and then the second argument will be our data. So in this case we want to send the index that we want to delete, right? So index and then add a semicolon. Right. Actually, we don't need this even. This is for the app Svelte. So just delete this. And so now this delete will be accessible in the to-do components attribute. So let me show you what I mean. Go to the to-do here, and then we can listen whenever the delete event is fired, and we can do that by writing on delete. Make sure this delete here on, make sure this event name is the same as this event name. Okay, on delete, and then let's and then this will be the function that will handle the actual delete operation of the to-do store. So we're going to implement this function in just 1 second, but now we just write the function name, handle delete to do. That's a good name. And then go up here, go to function, and then now let's write the functionality, handle delete to do, like this. And this handle to do will take the event as an argument. So inside this event, it will store the index. Remember the index that we pass in the dispatcher. So this one. So we can retrieve that through the event by accessing the index like this. Let's use the ES6 destructuring syntax. In cost index equals event.detail. So any data that we want will be stored in the event.detail. So after that, let's update the to-dos. To-dos.update. Now we want to delete the to-do item at this index. So make a reference to the current array so that we can update this. So now we should delete the item at the index. So to do that, we use the JavaScript Splice method. We supply the index as the argument, and the second argument should be 1, as we are deleting one item only. Okay, now return the updated. Okay, so if everything goes to plan, let's test this out. Okay, let's test the delete functionality. Click. Okay, now as you can see, the second to do in our to-do list is deleted successfully. So let's add a new to do just to test it. Add and then delete. Keep adding. Like this. So we can now delete freely. Okay, awesome. So now we've completed this. There's just one bug that is bothering me right now. If you notice, if the user click the add or even press enter like so, this text should be emptied again, right? So what we want to do is to go to the add to do functionality, and after the adding to do operation is done, let's empty the new to do variable. So go here, new to do equals empty string. So now when we add a new to do, we should have an emptied input for the next to do. Okay, and so that's it. That concludes our tutorial. So congratulations for all of you that completed this tutorial. You now can make your own very simple to-do app. So thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you next time. Assalamualaikum and peace.